Hello and welcome to more Beyond the Hat with me, Street, and Richard, the creator of the Top Hat Gaming Man. Today on the channel we are going to discuss, are Nintendo extorting us?
Well, when we say us, do we mean us or do we mean the general public?
Yeah, not specifically us. Nintendo don't care about us enough to try and extort us. We don't have enough money for them. Although neither do most of the people that run the ROM sites. We'll get into that later. Are Nintendo extorting their fans is more what we're trying to create focus on.
Yeah, basically Nintendo treat their IP library completely different to all of the other major companies and publishers out there.
Yeah.
For example, they have recently closed the 3DS E-Shop, or closing it, I believe. And the same goes for the Wii U's one as well.
Yeah.
Usually that wouldn't matter so much if it was on a different platform. But because there are so few ways to access most Nintendo games other than owning the physical media itself, it does feel like at points Nintendo are constantly doing to us what the lyrics of the Marvel vs. Capcom character select screen insinuates is doing to us. It's as if Nintendo are constantly saying, "Let me take you for a ride." Do you not feel?
I didn't see that coming at all. This is not the way I saw this starting. But yeah, I kind of feel like it. I mean, I think the biggest problem, okay? No, I'm not going to go there yet. I'm going to go... The thing is, I can completely understand why Nintendo are doing what they're doing, okay? Not enough people are playing the 3DS or the Wii U for them to fund these kind of ways of buying things. There's not enough people care.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. The problem is that the Switch is not enough for us to get a lot of access to these things.
No.
The 3DS, you can't play 3DS games on a Switch. It doesn't work. Not without a massive remaster.
But there's no reason why that the Nintendo Switch doesn't have access to, for example, a lot of the key titles that was released on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance. Yep. The Nintendo Wii U had access to them, yep, and the 3DS had access to them.
Yep.
But if you have a Switch, you've got no legal way of downloading those old games to play on your Switch.
Yeah, this is a shame. This is the problem.
And that's the whole problem with it.
This is the problem with the Switch. I can understand why they're not holding like these things up still, but it doesn't give us a lot of options.
But the thing is, Nintendo now have had games available to download online, available since the era of the Wii. 2007, I believe. Maybe even 2006 they opened those services. Why have they not given the option that when you download a game on the Wii, you could for a while, I think, transfer it over to the Wii U, but then there was no option on the Wii U to transfer the games you downloaded onto the Switch. It was just like, it doesn't matter. Just buy them all again. Buy exactly the same games all over again.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
This is a big thing. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation, well, Xbox specifically, have had a massive thing with backwards compatibility, and that's one of the things that a lot of the fans love about Xbox.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you can go back. I mean, I can, on my Xbox One, I could play my Xbox games. Most of them. Not all. They did have some compatibility issues at different points, but I could play a lot of them. If I bought a game on my Xbox 360, I can still play it on my Series X.
So I feel like Nintendo try and make things as inconvenient as possible for fans who only want to own one piece of modern hardware out of convenience. They don't want to hold on to their older systems because they don't want to clutter the house. They don't want loads of physical media laying around. Not everyone's as lunatic as me and wants happy to have 3,000 games. To be fair, I'm having to buy a whole entire new house because my game library takes up so much space.
That is something that you're currently doing that's stressed you out for the past few weeks. Actually.
It is, yeah, exactly. So that's quite an extreme measure in order so that I can continue to access a huge library of Nintendo games. Like, they've been going to the effort recently of shutting down various ROM sites so that
you say recently, it's been going on for years.
So can't access. It's one thing closing all those sites so that people can't access those games, but it's another thing not giving people any way to be able to play those games unless they seek out the old, now very expensive media. There's a reason that GameCube games are slowly becoming worth an absolute fortune, because now that's the only way that you can access those games.
Yeah, I walked past my local CEX yesterday. And other than the fact that the town that I live in is a complete crap hole, and somebody shouted at me and spat at me in the street outside my local CEX.
Pretty normal.
Yeah, I assume they were coming out of there. Maybe it was one of the staff. I don't know. But there were GameCube games in the front window going for 60, 70, 80 pounds, 90 pounds. That is not how much GameCube games should be.
And although that happens on like the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, it's not as common as with GameCube. Nearly every GameCube game is worth money.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case with other platforms.
Oh, if anybody can go out now and buy a GameCube game for £5, comment below. I want to know. Because I'm seriously interested. I haven't seen one.
But it is an absolute ridiculous. It does feel like Nintendo. It's all intentional. Like they're going out of their way to make people pay for the same games every generation over and over again in different ways as well.
Yeah.
And the fact they've opened the new online service, and isn't it as expensive as Xbox? What do they call the Xbox service?
No, it's still a lot cheaper.
What, if you want the Nintendo 64 games as well?
Yeah, it's
still cheaper.
Cheaper. I think that the online service with Game Pass, I think I pay something like £12 a month.
But you've got access to a huge library.
But I've got access to a ridiculous library.
Whereas the Nintendo one's really small.
It's like over 100 games.
And as you can...
And I've got PC games as well. So
yeah,
well over 100 games.
Well, Nintendo, for example, if you want to play an old Wii game, like, say, Skyward Sword, they've re-released it at the same price it was released at back then. Again.
Yeah. I will say as well, that's brand new games. So, yeah, I can play brand new games. I got Halo Infinite on day of release. So
you're not really getting a very good bargain with Nintendo games compared to what you get offered from literally any other company. Yeah.
Also, I will point out the fact that both PlayStation and Xbox both have a capable service to be able to play games. The Nintendo Online service, it takes me like minutes to queue into a game with my friends in the same room just to play a bit of Pokemon Sword or Shield.
But is it a case of each Nintendo system is so different from the next, it's hard to port games from one to the other? Or do you think Nintendo are intentionally making fans buy the same games generation out and not cutting the options in order to then go back and play the old ones? Are they intentionally extorting us, basically?
I think it's both. I think that because their infrastructures are so different, it makes it more difficult. But it's not like they haven't got the funds to be able to do it, or they don't see the fact that there's going to be issues and do their best to work around them before release.
Like, let's be honest, I can't see any reason why we can't access Nintendo Game Boy or Game Boy Advance games on the Switch. There isn't actually a reason there, other than the fact that they want to create artificial scarcity so they can sell them for more again in the future.
Yeah, what is the problem? Bearing in mind that they're running Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
They should be able to run at least 95% of Super Nintendo games. Why not have an option to buy them individually rather than subscribing to a service that doesn't work?
Yeah, again, why the options could be there, but they're not.
Yeah.
Because
why can't I download Final Fantasy VI? I mean, maybe I can, I don't know. That might be one of the ones that can because...
no, it's not. It's not on the eShop.
Square are wonderful and they tend to do this because you can get them on Steam.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact they're not trying is weird. I don't understand it. It's not like they're even making money off of the second-hand market.
No. So they're basically creating a scalper's paradise.
Yes. Yeah. So
it's ridiculous.
They're not only trying to extort us, they're also letting other people extort us too. It's to create artificial value in the Nintendo brand.
Yeah. And Disney are known to pull off this sort of thing in the past as well. Everyone's heard of, a lot of people are familiar with the Disney Vault, where they would release an old film for a limited run, on like a DVD for a set period, and then you wouldn't be able to get it anymore.
Are you trying to shoehorn Star Wars into this video again?
It's limited run and Star Wars.
No, I heard you talking about Disney.
I don't think we need any Star Wars.
Can you try? Before the end of this video, I want a Star Wars reference.
Okay, I'll try and get it in somewhere.
Okay. So, a lot of things they're doing as well, they're making re-releases of games. So, for example, I would need to buy old hardware to play Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So rather than just saying, well, here's access to Diamond and Pearl, here's a brand new Diamond and Pearl that you can go and play. Enjoy!
See, this is the weird thing, though. They seem so intent on creating this scarcity or extorting us that at points it feels like they're cutting off their own nose to spider face. Don't you think?
Yeah. It
That
does
they
fit.
could just be making so much money all the time by having access to all these games.
Could you imagine if you went onto the Switch and could download almost any Super Nintendo game, even if you were paying like £5-10 each?
Still a bit of a rip-off. I wouldn't mind doing it if they said we're going to guarantee you can still play these in future generations. That'd be awesome. There wouldn't be so much of a problem.
That is actually one of the things that makes me not want to buy
anything
digital games.
Yeah. And same as me. I don't buy many digital games for that reason.
I mean, with Xbox, I play a lot on my Xbox, and with my Steam account, I will quite happily go and buy games digitally because I know that I'll still have access to them when the next generation of consoles comes out in 10 years' time.
And you pretty much know by this point with Nintendo you're not going to have access to it the following generation.
Yeah,
and that digital game's going to be locked to that console forever.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance that the Switch won't follow that because, let's be honest, the chance of them not making a Switch 2 is quite slim.
But with the Switch downloads, but in terms of retro downloads, they've not even given it as an option. It's not been even an option that generation.
No. I mean, they're releasing some new, like the last Direct. They had like, is it Live Alive?
Live Alive.
Yeah. And obviously we never.
Or Live Alive, I think they call it.
Yeah, Live Alive, maybe. I don't know. Can't remember. But yeah, they're releasing that, and it's like, okay, yeah, we get access to that. Brilliant. But that's one game. How many Super Nintendo games have been released by Nintendo?
By Nintendo? What, on the Switch?
No, in general. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. That they still have licenses for. That they're not selling me. Let me buy them. Let me pay money.
The thing is, what makes quite a lot of this sinister and all that, normally when companies do like quite things what people aren't particularly agreeable about, like Nintendo recently, the amount of money they charge just so that people could play those few Nintendo 64 games on the Switch. They got quite a lot of backlash for that. Under normal circumstances, a lot of time a corporation will sometimes issue a statement or apologise, say we judged it wrong. Never ever get an apology from Nintendo.
No.
Ever. They never ever admit they're wrong. And what makes it worse is that a portion of their fandom, no matter how wrong Nintendo are in their behaviour and their practice, there will be zealots out there, fanatics, who will back up Nintendo's poor business practice and try and justify why it is ethically the right thing to do rather than a faux pas.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will justify it as, well, I already own all the games.
And you know what
That's
else?
not a justification. That is your specific circumstance.
And another thing about Nintendo fans, the fanatics, when they do get really pissed off, it's normally for a really short amount of time. Yes. And it's normally over the most pathetic, inconsequential nonsense ever. It's only usually if it's something directly to do with their games rather than the company's business practice as a whole. Like, a perfect example would be Nintendo fans were screeching like little bitches when Sakurai announced that the next character in Smash was going to be Byleth from Fire Emblem. They were really angry about that, like much more angry than they ever get about business practices. But again, a few weeks later, Sephiroth is now DLC, all forgiven, all forgotten.
Yeah. It's like they can screw up as much as they like. As long as they do something that is going to appease people a bit later on.
All these people are like full-grown adults who are like this online, but they behave like 7-year-olds. It's like playing Nintendo games, which basically is them reliving their child experiences, their experiences as children. Yeah. They then behave like children when it comes to the Nintendo brand, as if it's like a Peter Pan sort of syndrome.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's very odd. I don't understand. People are weird.
That's it at the end of the day. And I think a lot of the reason why Nintendo can get away with being the way they are and can blatantly extort their fans is because there is only one Nintendo.
There is only one Nintendo. They're doing their thing. And
no one offers games quite like them.
Yeah.
So they will be able to continue to have poor business practice. Same goes to Apple. Apple products are a bit of a rip-off as well. Yeah. And they do often treat their audience like utter scum on the bottom of their shoes, basically.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. They won't give anybody a chance to repair any of their stuff. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what annoys me...
Or the Joy-Cons. How heinous is that?
Oh, yeah.
We could talk about this all day long.
Mine's finally gone.
Is it?
My left one. Need to buy a new one. But yeah, the thing that annoys me most, right? Nintendo should... They're so in love with their franchises and their IPs, right? That they should show love to them. But they don't. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has gone out of his way at different times to say how much he loves the idea of emulation and ROMs. You know, he's been a champion for them, saying game preservation is important. That was his statement. And he's gone out of his way to go back and make sure that old Xbox titles are available on future consoles. That's been a lead thing.
Well, with Nintendo, it goes back to that meme again with the dog ripping up an old Nintendo game, where it's got the meme on it. It's got the dog says, "No play, only remember."
Yeah, that'll appear here probably right now. Yeah,
yeah, good.
Yeah, that can happen. And PS5, PlayStation have gone out of the way. Well, there's been talks about having a backwards compatible library that you can then access and download, kind of like a Game Pass style service, which is going to have a lot of backwards compatibility to old games. It seems like PlayStation are embracing old games. Xbox are embracing old games. Nintendo embrace old IPs by releasing them again and again and again.
So, I guess that pretty much rounds everything up.
I think so.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Are Nintendo intentionally extorting us when it comes to games and how they release them these days, in terms of cutting off ways for us to be able to access games from the past as well?
Yeah.
Is this all intentional?
Yeah. Also, what games would you like to see available? What are your favourite all-time Nintendo history games that you think you would like to be available on the Switch?
You know it's Mario's missing. Yeah.
To be fair, that would be cool. I know you went to say goodbye there, but it would be cool to get other games like that.
Mario's Time Machine.
Yeah. Ones that weren't Nintendo releases.
Plock. Cheerio!